I'd like to reconvene the regular council meeting for Wednesday, October 1st. We'll start right in with our delegations. We have two delegations tonight. And just like to remind the presenters that to keep it to 5 minutes, and that council will probably want to ask questions afterwards. So first up will be Janice and Mike Pym and Lynn Stevenson to present on the operations of the Summerland Fire Department. Just come on up to the desk, please, and push the button so the red light comes on. Yeah, and away you go.
All right. Good evening, Mayor, Holmes, and Council. We are here this evening to request that the Mayor and Council mandate the Summerland to be established in accordance with the BCEMA licensing to provide medical assistance to the community. The cost of implementing this service is very affordable, and we fully understand the Council would need to direct the administration to do additional research on detailed costs of the service. The British Columbia Ambulance Service, the British Columbia Ambulance Station in Summerland maintains one Alpha car operating 24/7 and one Kilo car that is staffed on call. The Kilo car can go down at any time, and cross coverage from other communities is often required and can cause time delays. During routine operations, it is not unusual for time delays to occur. BCEHS does not operate on unsafe roads, past shorelines, or steep grades exceeding 30 degrees. If there is a medical incident on Conkle or Cartwright Mountain, response would come from Penticton Search and Rescue. Although an ambulance is always guaranteed, time delays are a real concern. The Summerland Fire Department is composed of 5 full-time members, 30 to 32 paid on-call firefighters, and there is no administrative support at this time. They are currently governed by 7 policies and 1 bylaw that does not address the recently new 2024 Fire Safety Act. The authority having jurisdiction, the Mayor and Council is responsible for bylaws, statutes, or policy statements that clearly express the specific authority and kind of service to be delivered for the community from their fire service group. There are no written rules, regulations, policies, or bylaws that provide the fire department with any direction regarding medical assistance. A January 26, 2009 Committee of the Whole meeting was the last reference found on the topic of first responders. The Good Samaritan Act does not apply to firefighters while they are on duty. The Summerland Fire Department is not dispatched for any 911 medical calls, and they are dispatched for motor vehicle incidents, but are instructed to comfort and assist, call 911, and follow the dispatcher's recommendations for first aid. A total of 214 fire departments throughout the province were contacted, and of those, 189 were first responders, 88.3%. 88 fire departments in the Lower Mainland were then included, making it 91.7%. The top 10 communities were used for comparison based on similar population. Of these communities, 90% were first responders. The 2021 census showed that Summerland has an aging demographic. 39.1% were 65 and over, and 3.8% were 85 and older. Only 2 firefighters are required to respond to medical calls. There are many different models used by fire departments regarding first responding. An example of this would be the type of calls they respond to, Code Purple and Code Red, which are the 2 highest priorities. A first responder provides basic life support, including first aid, CPR, and basic emergency medical care. The first responder course involves 40 hours of training with a 3-year certificate issued upon completion, annual CPR training, and recertification after 3 years, requiring 20 hours of training. The cost of responder course is $2,500, but a certified in-house trainer who can offer the course for between $250 and $300 per person. Again, not every firefighter would be required to take the course. 8 members are already trained as first responders, and the remaining staff and paid on call have level 1 first aid training. The estimated cost to outfit one fire truck is approximately $3,450 to $4,100. A petition has been circulating around Summerland in print form and online, and to date, there are a total of 1,034 signatures collected since September 13th, 821 signatures in print form, and 213 online. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for your time and consideration, and we hope that you will join us in seeing the importance and value of Summerland Fire Department being dispatched as first responders providing first aid. This investment aligns with a commitment to community safety and ensures our residents receive the fastest possible response in life-threatening situations while working together with BCEHS. 91.7% of the communities we polled have this service and recognize its value, the value of a human life.
Okay, thank you. Council, any questions? Councillor Betts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for your presentation today. The amount of effort that went into this presentation package is really shows a dedication to looking at the information, which I think is amazing. We were very fortunate today to have a presenter come from BC Ambulance as well, come and present to council and allow us the opportunity to ask questions of BC Ambulance service providers in Summerland and how the service is actually statistically being hosted, which is great. And I was wondering if you had, before we talk about kind of what we learned, did you have the opportunity to speak with BC Ambulance to find out our statistics before asking about adding additional service?
Yes, we did. We spoke with Terry Grant, the supervisor of the BCEHS in Summerland.
Okay.
And he provided us with statistics for the call volume, et cetera. And there was recently a newspaper, I think it was a newspaper article that identified the times that were the most frequent for calls, and that being 10 in the morning and between 4 and 6 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And also, he indicated to us that he is in favor of the fire department becoming first responders.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Councillor Trainer.
Mike, thanks a lot for coming tonight and putting all your information together. I really
Thank you.
appreciate it. You mentioned something about a 2024 Safety Act. I'm not sure if I heard you correctly. Could you just repeat what you said?
Yeah. In 2024, they revised the Fire Service Act, and it is now the Fire Safety Act. And do you know anything
Yeah.
further about
They have to change the bylaw. It's not
Yeah.
included in our bylaw. So you're not following the 2024 Fire Safety Act in Summerland.
that? The bylaw is not current with the Fire Safety Act, which was brought into act in 2024.
Okay, so you're saying that our bylaw is not.
It's not current, actually.
It's not current, okay. CAO, do we know that?
Thank you through his worship. I'd have to look into that. I don't know the accuracy of that.
Would we be able to get a copy of your presentation?
Yeah.
Or does it include, no, sorry, not your presentation, what you just taught, your speech?
Yeah, we can provide you with.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you. Oh, is it? Okay, I just have the presentation. So,
Yeah, I don't-
Sorry, the package. It's in there? Okay,
No,
thank you.
No, it's not. Sorry, Kendra, it's not. But what Mike just presented is not part of the package. That was, we condensed afterwards.
Yeah, this is your Reader's Digest.
If you can just email it to me, that'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
You can just send it to council at summerland.city, then we'll all get it.
All right.
Anyone else?
I just wanted to just show people the actual petition.
Oh,
Yeah, just so you see the actual.
Yeah, that's the petition so far that we've collected in print form.
Okay, And when you're ready to hand it over, you can give it to the corporate officer. But if you're still collecting names, that's fine too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's still some more out there to collect.
Okay, that's fine. Corporate, Councilor Barco.
So if I understand that correctly, your concern is response time?
Response time, the main issue, I would say, yeah, there currently is potentially a gap in response time based on the fact that they work on a cross coverage system, which provides ambulance from other areas. So for instance, if our Alpha car, our main 24/7 car was out on a call, they would enact the Kilo car, which is an on-call car. So that's not always staffed by people who are in Summerland. They're on pager. So the delay could come in them getting the second car out to respond.
Can I follow? Yeah. Did he share what our experience in Summerland is with response time? Any statistics?
Is there any staff on response time? I'm not,
From the,
I think you'd have to refer to Terry Grant on that. He sort of suggested that we put any questions to you regarding that.
I think.
So if your concern is response time, do you know what is your expectation for a response time? And it doesn't sound like you know whether we're meeting that expectation. What is your expectation?
I'll answer the question.
Okay. You can go ahead and answer that.
Okay. It's not just the response time. The Summerland Fire Department does not do any first aid whatsoever. That's the main concern, that if you were to run into the fire hall right now and you're having a heart attack, they're not allowed to respond. So that is the main concern. It's also becoming 911 because of the delays, but they're not allowed to do any first aid whatsoever. If somebody falls and breaks their ankle in front of the fire department, they're not allowed to respond. So it's up to the council. You're the AHJ. There's no policies. There's nothing. There's no SOGs. There's nothing that states anything about medical going to car accidents. They're not supposed to do medical.
According to the way the bylaws and policies are currently in place, there's nothing directing them to provide first aid at a car accident.
There isn't even a policy to allow them to go to car accidents. There is no SOGs. There's no policies for them to do car accidents, to do ambulance lift assist. There's nothing written anywhere. And that's putting you liable. That's putting the firefighters liable. It's putting the public liable. There's nothing written. I've gone through everything. If you'd like to have a meeting after, I can put all the information out because I have it all. And I've talked to the fire commissioner on numerous occasions.
Councilor Barco. Well, if you want to follow up, or is
So your concern is that a fire truck could maybe reach a car accident faster than an ambulance could?
No. But if they're first on scene, they should be able to provide first aid.
If they happen to be the first time.
If they're the first ones on scene and they're August 18th, they were, and they saved somebody's life. And they weren't supposed to. They can be reprimanded for not doing first aid.
There's two issues that are concerning us mostly, and that is the fact that our firefighters are trained as part of their training as first aid attendants, level 1, which involves CPR, basic first aid, the same thing that the RCMP would have. And as it stands right now, the mayor and council has not allowed them to do training or to do first aid that they're trained to do. And that's very concerning in the fact that in the course of their duty, they should be allowed to do that. And there should never be a hesitation whether they should do it or not.
Yep.
They're trained to do it, just as the police are. And it's level one, that's basic first aid training. So if they were to go to a car accident and someone needed to be extracted with jaws of life and there was injuries involved, if the ambulance wasn't there yet, they're not allowed to do that.
Another point is if there's a house fire and you're inside and they need 4 firefighters, 2 in, 2 out, they pull me out and there's no ambulance there, they're not allowed to do first aid on me. They're not allowed to give me oxygen. The defibrillator over there is only to use on each other, and so is the oxygen. That's a major concern if they come to my house and I'm just left on the lawn until an ambulance gets there.
Councillor Chair. No, Councillor Peak.
So I see that the group that you have are very concerned about the response or the allowability of having volunteer firefighters look after in a medical way any of the public when they go to any kind of a scene. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Well, they're not just volunteer, they're paid on call and there's 5
But they're-
full-time.
They're volunteers. They're mostly volunteers. There is a pay scale for what they do, but they volunteer as firefighters. They have not been asked to volunteer as medical responders. That would be a change in service, and that has not happened.
If you look at Appendix 6, phoning the 214 fire stations, there's a lot that are paid on call. They're just strictly volunteer.
Yes.
So they do it. Some of them don't even get
I'm not
paid.
saying they don't do it elsewhere, but that has not been part of the service from here, correct?
No, that's correct.
And that's part of what you're saying.
Yes,
We want that service here.
yes.
Yeah.
And I would say from both the statements you made in response to Councillor Barkwell is that you're concerned about the lack of first aid service from the fire department when they arrive.
Yes.
Are you also concerned about the response times?
Yes.
And what response times are you concerned about? The fire department or the ambulance service?
The ambulance,
Yeah.
when there's the delay for the purple and the red, if they're going to be delayed, that the fire department be dispatched to cover the delay so that they get there quicker than if an ambulance has to come from Penticton.
Okay.
I think there's a concern that the fire department is going to run to every call that comes in. That's not the intention. The intention of this is to have them be available to back up the ambulance service if there is a time delay. Time sensitive is what we're looking at. And it is for the 2 most
Critical call.
critical calls, being the code red and the code purple, which are heart attacks, you're not breathing, the 2 life-threatening calls. The way that most of the places that Janice talked to, fire departments, the way they deal with it, they tailor their service to the community. So they're not running out to go to every call that gets called in. They're running out and going to a time delayed call where the ambulance is going to be delayed. And here, our ambulance service covers a huge area. It's provincially run. It has nothing to do with us as a town. So ambulances can leave here and leave us potentially without an ambulance for a period of time. They always guarantee that you're going to have an ambulance, but it's that time where if Penticton's busy, maybe the ambulance comes from Oliver. So there's quite a time gap that can occur. And because they have a second call here, a car here, which is on call, it's not always immediate. So that's the concern that that we have with providing this service to the community.
If I may, thank you very much, Your Worship. In our backgrounders, when we speak to the ambulance service, they have a 9-minute response time. They have a 90-second get out and on the roll. They do have a blanket service, and you're quite correct, they cover a fairly large area. We have been told because there have been more resources that have grown over time in the two responding urban areas close to us, both in Penticton and in Kelowna, that actually the service coverage has increased because there's just more ambulance available. I would like to suggest that maybe there's an opportunity for us to look for further background through the staff doing some research on this and give them a fair length of time to do this, to come back with more information for our council. Because I think that there may be things that we need to understand better. And these folks have brought some of those things forward. I would very much like to see the opportunity to do a little in-depth look. And if it took 8 months or a year to get that information to us, then we could make an informed decision on the kind of service we wish to have, the cost of the things that we might like to include in it. We would just have the basis of better research. I really appreciate that you folks have come with what you have because I think it's useful.
Can I give you an example? On May 7th, we were in an interview at PC Ambulance, and there was no first responders in Summerland. That the Alpha car was called out, and I don't know if you know how the Kilo car works. They have to call them in, and there was no one coming. And we sat there during the interview, and there was no first responders in Summerland.
And that was probably, I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing it was at least 10 to 15 minutes before it came. So I think you can see the problem there. If a call came in and someone was having a heart attack, you don't necessarily have 10 or 15 minutes. And by allowing the fire department to act as that, it's kind of a go-between, a stopgap. They can be there providing a level of first aid beyond level 1 and potentially be life-saving. That's what our goal is to.
And also, if you're going to do a study, could you look into them just being allowed to do first aid? Because if you have the fire department open to the public and something happens to someone in there, they're not allowed to do anything to help them. There's no SOGs, there's no bylaws, there's no rules and regulations, there's nothing. And if you want all the information I have with the SOGs, I've researched this for 1.5 years. I am willing to meet with any of you. I'm willing to give it all to you. I don't have a problem doing that. But there's a lot that's wrong with the SOGs, the policies, everything, the bylaws with the fire department.
Summerland grooming too.
And I think the concern as well is that 90% of the communities out there are providing this service. And the ones we talk to, there's many smaller, there's many larger. And the types of response we got from fire chiefs and others were that we should have that service.
It's shocking. Taxpayers.
I have Councillor Betts and Bart both and Trainer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So just one of the things that when we were speaking today with BC Emergency Health Services was talking about the response times and how the overall system works. And so the 9-minute response time is their goal that is set, which is standardized and is met, he believes, 99 to 100% of the time in our region. And if we were going to be calling out our emergency fire department as well on a call, that it would still take time for our volunteer firefighters to come to the station and set out. And so I would just make note No,
Can I answer that?
I'd prefer if I can just finish my
Okay.
thought here. Thank you. That when we have our BC Emergency Health Services, the ambulance service saying that we are almost 100% of the time meeting the goals of the response time, that's very compelling statistical information as well. You know, and so when we're looking at them saying that the 90 seconds getting into the car, once they receive the first aid, once they receive the 911 call to the ambulance station, that we're meeting that. I think those are just important pieces of information for Summerlanders to have to feel that we are being responded to in a just way. And that it's not always apples to apples when we're making comparisons to other communities. For example, Princeton doesn't have a Penticton or a Kelowna or Peachland just so nearby. And so the whole system works as a whole grouping together, that when one of our ambulances moves to Penticton, somebody else is moving into our area. And that response time remains 9 minutes or less, which is the goal time. So I just bring up that when they were presenting with us today, that it appears that Summerland, according to the statistics, is meeting the medical requirements of our community. And that's coming from the ambulance services. So for me, if I felt that our residents weren't being serviced in this important way, then of course I would look to change it. And we'll look at the data. Of course we will. You've come with a very compelling presentation. But when we're also looking at the facts that we're receiving from BC Ambulance, and they're saying that we're meeting the response times in measurable ways, and that our utilization rate of our ambulance in our community sits around, the standard is 40% of how often your ambulance is used. Summerland sits between 10 to 15% utilization. And in the busiest of communities in the Lower Mainland, we're looking at a 70% utilization rate. So for us on council, when we're trying to debate and talk about investments in our healthcare and how we service our residents, and when we have a utilization rate that is at 10 to 15% of our ambulance time being utilized, I feel like they actually have things organized, that how they structure the BC ambulance as soon as one leaves our community, how they're working on moving things around, moving pieces. That's what they presented to us today. And just, it's so important to be able to listen to all these different presentations. And it was part of the live meeting earlier today. It's available for anybody to listen to go back on the YouTube to the District of Summerland earlier council meeting today, to listen to that full conversation about how statistically the BC Ambulance Service is meeting Summerland's needs with room to grow. So.
Can we speak as taxpaying citizens?
No, I'm sorry, just the presenters, May.
Can I speak?
No, just the presenters,
Okay,
please.
present.
You're one of the presenters?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, Janice did a tremendous amount of work to compile information. I was the person that put it together. So part of the presentation that we gave you prior to this meeting is where we combine the services, the firefighters, EHS, all that documentation. So what you say is probably correct. I mean, it is correct because, I mean, that's the facts that you were given today. We're not doubting that. I guess what we're coming here today with is by doing the petition, prior to the petition, I got involved because I had no idea that our firefighters did not do any first responding. They did not do any medical. Probably 98% of the people we talked to did not realize that they do not do medical. We would expect in our community that that would be a priority. 9 minutes can be a long time, and stats and averages are wonderful. But the difference between saving a life only one time can make a difference. And that's why we're here today. We did an estimate of the cost, and I think that's something that needs to be considered as well, is a breakdown, and this is all in your package. The cost, I just pulled some of it out today to make it easier for Mike to be able to present. But I have this and I can give you that just, and I will pass along everything to Kendra with the packages. But the costs are minimal for what we could provide the community with. We're looking at potentially just a rough estimate, and we feel that our numbers are pretty good, about over $20,000 to initially put this into place. That gives our firefighters better opportunities to be able to do what they need to do if the need is required, or they're in a position that they have to use that training. There are people that are willing to in-house to provide the training at a minimal cost. And then it's just the equipment. And the equipment is going to be used, regardless. I mean, you see AED machines all over town now. But we have one in the fire department that they can't use except on themselves. There's something wrong with this picture. There's something wrong with that. So what we're here today is to say, let's look at what we can do for a minimal investment to make our community safer and benefit the community and our residents, and look at potential growth. And I have like a cost breakdown, just to estimate as close as we could get. Of course, you want to do your own, but I'll just give this to Kendra and she can pass it around. Thank you.
Yeah, costs are a difficult one. We just returned from the Union of BC Municipalities convention, and it's a big issue, and there's a resolution to asking provinces to reimburse the costs for medical calls because they've gone out of control, and it's something that the province ought to be paying for, but it's one of those things that has been downloaded to municipalities. So, I think we really have to do a deep dive on costs because I don't think it's just a matter of $20,000 and away we go. There's a lot more to it than that. But anyway, Councillor Barkwell, I believe, is next.
You've certainly brought up an important topic for discussion and a whole lot of research, but sometimes these things raise more questions than the answer. And so there will be a lot to consider, and some of them are kind of qualitative too. How much additional workload can our volunteers willingly take on? That's something I know nothing about. But in all the research, there's something that seems kind of, there's two aspects here. You talked about additional training to be a first responder, and then there's the and then there's the current level they all have, sort of a basic first aid that they're not allowed to perform on, but unless they're saving their fellow. So what is the reason? Do you have an explanation as to why they can't do the current first aid that they have? Is it, maybe it's a silly reason, maybe it's a good reason, maybe there's no reason?
In 2009, at the Committee of Whole, it was decided by council, and the fire chief, Glenn Noble, then came forward and decided then that they wouldn't do first aid. To do first aid, to do MVIs, anything, you have to have SOGs, and it has to be either in your bylaw, a policy, or rules or regulation as per the Fire Commissioner of BC. Right now, there's none of those anywhere. So it's never been readdressed since 2009, and it's up to the council to address them, to let them do first aid. And that's it. Even running into the, I didn't want to bring it up, but someone broke their ankle in front of the fire hall, and a counselor did go in and made them go out and do first aid, and they weren't supposed to. If I had run in while the person was on the sidewalk screaming, they would have instructed me that they were not allowed to do first aid. To me, that's unacceptable. If I run into a fire hall and they do first aid and they have a defibrillator there, and I have someone on the sidewalk and I've called 911 and they're not allowed to use a defibrillator on that person that's dying on the sidewalk, like, it's up to you guys. And Rob said that, Fire Chief Robinson, at one of the meetings I was at, he said it's because of you. It's in the package, the transcript.
That came from the the quarterly from the fire department last year.
I'm not, all we're trying to do is make Summerland safe. There's no agenda. I had an incident where the ambulance wasn't coming. Yeah, he had to put me in the car and speed me there. I had blood clots in my lungs. There was no one coming because there was no ambulance there. Like, it's to keep the citizens of Summerland safe. That's all it's for. Children, everyone.
Yeah. Well, so I didn't quite understand the answer to my question about why they're not allowed to do.
That's up to you guys. There's
Doesn't
no
finish
policy.
my question.
That's the answer, yeah. There's
But
no
you said
policy.
something about having to have, there was a regulation about having to have SOG. What's the SOG? And so where does that regulation
Okay,
come?
an
How does
SOG
that two work together? Or what?
Okay, so when you put on your website and your bylaw says that you do rescue and you do other incidences, according to the Fire Commissioner of BC, there has to be rules and regulations, SOGs stating everything you do. Otherwise, you're not allowed to do it.
SOG is a
Standard operating
guideline.
guideline.
So what the
Oh.
process as it was explained to us is that it's the council's job to identify what service level they would like the fire department to perform and to put out proper policies, bylaws, et cetera, that state that's what they want the coverage to be. Then that goes to the fire department, and the fire department comes up with the standard operating guidelines as to how they're going to perform those things.
See, right now, you have got no SOGs on MVIs. You have, so they shouldn't be going to them. And that's a liability that's putting it on Summerland, it's putting on the firefighters. It says on your website that they assist the ambulance. There's nothing in the SOGs that says anything but what they're supposed to do to assist the ambulance. So they're not supposed to be going. That's as per the Fire Commissioner of BC. So
we had a number of conversations with the Office of the Fire Commissioner, trying to get a grasp of how that is all supposed to work. And that's our understanding of it, is that's the way it's supposed to work. And currently, like Janice said, that it's very vague. There's nothing laid out as to how they're supposed to operate from your standpoint, like what we would like them to do.
So just to reference the SOGs and the written policies, I have it under number 9, under the Summerland Fire Department. In your package, the big package, the 114-page package we put together, there is, it's on page number 9, or it's referenced under 9. So it's on number 9, and then there's appendices. Everything is laid out, and the appendices follow. So you have the main presentation with the highlighted information, and then we have backing up appendices. That's why it makes it 114 pages, which is probably pretty cumbersome to look at with all the paper that I'm sure you people go through in a day. But we tried to lay it out as best we could to make it user-friendly through the table of contents. And as Janice and Micah both said, we welcome the opportunity to meet with you at any time to discuss this further.
I have a whole list from the Fire Commissioner of things that are supposed to be done. So I'm not putting the blame on anyone, but to cover everyone's, to cover the citizens, to cover the council, to cover the district, it needs to get done.
Thank you. Councillor Chen.
Thank you again for your presentation. It's a lot. And I think, I completely understand the theory behind it. I don't think there's an alternate agenda or anything. Like, I can completely see why you're here and what you're doing. And I think we all want to be safe, and we all want help to come when we call 911. So I would support looking at this as an opportunity for sure. I think that there's a lot of questions that we would need to check the boxes on our side. The cost is one thing. I know you presented numbers, but obviously we would have to, verify those on our side, doing our due diligence. There's some discrepancies between some of the things I've heard from you and some of the things that we've heard from BC Ambulance. So it would be good for us to just fact check all that so that we're all on the kind of the same page before we make a big decision that does change the use of our fire department. I had a long discussion with the mayor of Merritt when I was at UBCM, because in Merritt, their fire department is a first responder. And he said it is taking on, it is, like the mayor said, taking on a provincial responsibility, which is health. And he was actually at UBCM to present the Ministry of Health with a bill to cover his fire department's response over the year. They respond to all the accidents on the Coquihalla, and so he was hoping to get some money back for that. And he also said that they have a volunteer fire department as well, and he said that sometimes they've had instances where their volunteers have gone out, they've responded to calls, they've been very traumatic. He talked about the e-bus that crashed on the Coquihalla a couple of years ago, and he said some of those volunteers that responded to that never came back. So there's just a lot of things that we need to think about, but it doesn't mean that those challenges can't be overcome. It's just we have to see the big picture on how this would change our fire department. So, I mean, I would be interested in learning more. And I think Janet or Councillor Peak had talked about asking staff to come back to us with a report. It is a big overhaul. I know it seems simple, but there might be things that we don't know or unintended consequences, both good and bad. So I appreciate you guys coming today, and I appreciate all the effort that you've put in and the effort that you've shared with us. And I think it is time that we take a look at our fire department and get some answers.
Yeah.
Yeah, likewise, I've been speaking to a number of mayors, and one thing they do raise is if we do this, we're going to lose auxiliary firefighters. We're going to find it more difficult to recruit auxiliary firefighters. And well, that's their experiences.
And
Maybe we'll have a different experience. We don't know because we haven't tried it. But that's I guess what I struggle with is the issue seems to be in the provision of medical assistance. The issue doesn't seem to be the issue with firefighting. And so maybe the solution isn't necessarily our fire department. Maybe there's another solution. I'm just wondering, have you looked at things like the community paramedic program and whether that might be a solution for Summerland?
no. I've talked to numerous fire chiefs, and when you say about losing volunteers, quite a few of the fire chiefs I talked to said that it actually brings in volunteers because they get trained to be first responders, and they know at those volunteer fire departments that they will only have those volunteers for 3 to 4 years because they will finish all their training and then they will move on to become a permanent firefighter. And they said it actually draws people in. And that's talking to fire chiefs. I talked to 214 of them. So whether you'd lose them because of traumatic incidents, but you would also bring them in because they're getting all the training and they're being allowed to do the things that when they go to West Kelowna or they go to Penticton, where they all do first responding. The only people that don't do first responding from Osoyoos past Vernon are Osoyoos and Summerland. That's it. Everybody else are first responders. Peachland, they only have 2 full-time and they're all paid on call. We're the only 2 that don't. So, and it's not just the first responding, it's the first aid. That's a biggie. That's a
big
biggie.
component of it, the first aid, the fact that they're not allowed to do that. They're trained to do that. And as taxpayers, we actually pay for that
Training.
as part of their, when they join the fire department, and their annual training that they do, as well as their 3-year, I think it's a 3-year retraining on basic level 1 first aid. we pay for that and that service is not being provided. So that doesn't seem to be the right way to do it.
I'll give you a quick example. Someone from Dr. Good's office a few weeks back, an older lady was having cardiac arrest. They called 911, the ambulance wasn't coming. They ran over to the fire department and asked them to bring the defibrillator. The fire department responded, "We can't." To me, that's just wrong.
Yeah,
They're there, and we're not just looking at them as firefighters. And if I'm in a house fire, I would hope that I'm just not a smoking ornament on the grass until an ambulance gets there, that if I need oxygen, there's actually been firefighters reprimanded, like for doing first aid. It's not fair to the
it's not
firefighters,
fair to them either.
like to handcuff them. To have to think, should I help that person? Or should I not? Because I could lose my job.
I was a member of the RCMP for 25 years, and part of the training that you received, and it's different from this, but you're trained to react to a situation. And the firefighters are trained in first aid. So when they go somewhere, they should never be thinking about whether they should do that. They should be going and responding according to their training level.
Okay, thank you very much. I've heard you, and we'll have discussions with our staff. And we'll be in touch.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Yeah. Our second delegation is the Summerland Junior Hockey Team, and Terry.
Button.
Yeah, just go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. Your worship, councilors, staff, thank you very much for letting me present to you today. For any of you who don't know who I am, my name is Terry Rolston. I am a longtime resident of Summerland. I'm also the past president of Summerland Minor Baseball. I'm the past president of Summerland Minor Hockey. I'm the past president of the Okanagan Mainline Amateur Hockey Association, which is the district hockey association that runs all minor hockey in the Okanagan and Thompson area. So I've got quite a bit of experience in the hockey industry, I guess you could say. Here with me today is also Jeff Dubois, who is the commissioner of the KIGHL. So welcome, Jeff. Thank you. What I'm here today to talk about is the possible expansion team in Summerland. When the Summerland team left and went to Williams Lake, I think it left a big hole in our community. We are one of the few communities that have an arena that could support a junior hockey team in southern BC that does not have a junior hockey team now that the Summerland team has left. So what we are proposing, or what I'd like to do, which way do I, where's this? Thank you. So what I think one of the things that needs to be addressed is the fact that all the previous junior hockey teams in Summerland were all owner-based teams. What I'm proposing we do is we create a community-based team. So there would not be an owner other than the society that we're forming to run the team. What we would be doing is we would be selling memberships to the society, I guess you could say. I have to look at all the legal terms here and make sure that I'm saying it properly, but selling memberships to the society. We'd be looking at about 300 memberships at about $1,000 per membership, which would give us enough money to pay the expansion fee and get the team up and running. We would really, our whole goal is to make it a very community involved team, which means we would be going out to the community, getting everybody involved in terms of sponsorships, in terms of getting everybody involved in the whole process of getting the team up and running. Our whole focus would be on focusing on the development of Summerland, our local players, as well as the South Okanagan. When the BCHL left Hockey Canada, that left a pretty big gap for our local players. So what we're trying to do is provide a place for our local players to play, and that gap can be easily filled with the KIJHL and the junior team here in Summerland. We will be working, or we are already working together with the Summerland Minor Hockey Association. We're not here to steal ice from Summerland Minor Hockey. We're here to work in cooperation and together with Summerland Minor Hockey and provide a pathway for our children, our players to develop, and then develop those players into the junior team. What we're requesting of the council, in order to put the application forward to the KIJHL, we need endorsement from City Council. So that's what we're looking for, is endorsement from City Council. As part of that endorsement, we need a commitment to have some practice ice and some game ice, and we need a commitment to work together with the Recreation Department to make sure that the ice allocation happens, and we need to provide that on the application form. One of the other things that we would be looking at, oh, there we go, no. Like I said before, we're looking at building pathways for our local athletes, player advancement opportunities. The new structure of the KIJHL is going to allow us to work together with other teams in the KIJHL, because as of next year, if all goes as planned, the KIJHL will be split into Tier 1 and Tier 2. We would be starting as a Tier 2 team, which means that we can cooperate with other Tier 1 teams in the area, such as the Princeton Posse, and I've already talked to the president there, I guess is its title, to work together with them and then create a pathway for our players to go from Tier 1 to Tier 2 and then on to even hopefully into the Western Hockey League with the new Penticton Vs. So we're trying to work together with all of those teams to get a pathway for our players and our local athletes to make it to help them fulfill their dreams. Sorry. So what we're looking for is that endorsement from City Council. We're looking for ice allocation. We're also looking for the dressing room that is at the end. We would need to fix that dressing room up. So we would like permission to do that. And we've got enough people together that would help us do that. So we just need the permission to do that. And we're looking for the partnership with the council to make sure that that happens. And yes, that's all I wanted to say. Is anybody is not as serious as that last subject, but any questions from anybody?
Okay, thank you. And we'll be discussing your request on the agenda the next up. But first, if council has any questions, we'll put those to you. Councillor Betts.
Thanks for coming today, Terry, Mr. Rolston. And so a question about when you're talking about selling memberships to be able to kind of finance the endeavor in the first place, do you see that kind of anybody in the community, or are you looking really hockey players and families, or is it spectators and then that membership might get you 5 games of viewing? Like, what do you envision?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. Thank you. So we're looking at anybody that wants to make the community better, because I believe that this team will make the community better. So anybody that wants to be involved, we're still in the process of deciding exactly what that membership gets, and perhaps it is a season ticket for the year, which would help hopefully do that. We're looking at, we've already talked to quite a few people who have a hockey interest. There's a lot of ex-NHL players and ex-high-level players in the area that are interested in this. So we're in the process of chatting with those people as well to try and get them involved. But as far as I'm concerned, we would anybody that wants to be involved, we would welcome them to be involved with the process. We want to make this truly a community-based team, right? So the idea is not for any one person or anybody to make a profit or anything like that. It's a not-for-profit organization. We're even talking to the lawyers at this point, who's also volunteering, to see if we can make it into a charitable organization, but we haven't got any answers on that yet. So,
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So how do you come up with 300 members at 1,000 as opposed to say 600 members at 500?
We'll take a half membership for 500 too. I guess the numbers is what we looked at. Was we thought that, and when we started talking to all the people that I'm involved with in the hockey community, I guess we kind of said 300 members we kind of got a list together and said these 300 people would probably donate to this and would probably pay $1,000. So that's kind of where we came up with that number. Now, to get the team up and going is $225,000 for the new franchise fee. So we need that. It's another $10,000 for an application process. And then that would give us the remaining funds to get the locker up, the room up and running, get the jerseys going, get the preseason stuff going. Once the team is up and running, it is a pay-to-play league. So we would have to make sure we have a budget together that says we have 20 players, they pay this amount, this is our costs. We'd have to make sure that is all covered. So it's a pay-to-play league once it's up and going. And the entire league is structured that way. So it's not like we're doing anything different than anybody else. We would be structuring that same way as everybody else. What we'd also want to do is make sure that it's attractive, because why would the players want to come to Summerland? Well, besides it being a fabulous community and having all these great people here, we also want to make it an attractive place to come and play. So the dressing room has to be attractive. We would like to even potentially get memberships at the aquatics fitness center and make sure that the kids have access to the weight training and all of that kind of stuff. And we'd want to make sure that we have enough billet families in the community to, if there's any out of town, because we won't be able to make up a team from strictly Summerland. There's going to be out of town kids coming to play as well. So we'll need to get the billet families and make sure that they're looked after. There will be a strong focus on the volunteers that are going to be involved. I think that we can do a good job at making the volunteers feel special and make sure that the volunteers are recognized for what they do. So we'll be working on that as well. I don't know if that answered your question, but
Sounds good. Councillor Barkwell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of questions. Are there other teams in this league that are the community-based model that you've proposed for here?
Yes, there's several actually. So the ones that I've been talking to the most is Princeton Posse. So the Princeton Posse are a community-based team. The Sycamus Eagles, the Chase Heat, Creston. What's the name of the Creston team? Thundercats. So yeah, there's a lot of community-based teams, and Jeff would probably know all of them. But it is a model that I think works better for this league. I have talked to several players, former players. My son is actually one of them. He used to play in the league. And I've talked to players that played for both the community-based and the owner-based. And the players that I talked to preferred the community-based teams. So there is models in place for it. And I think they're very successful models. And the good thing about the KHHL and having the support of somebody like Jeff is that we can reach out to those teams. They want us in the league. They want us to be part of this. So they're all willing to sit down and help. They may be competitors on the ice, but from an administrative perspective, they want to work together so that they can make a successful league. So that's what we're going to them to get advice and get help. So.
Okay, thank you. I suppose talking to them sort of informed your decision, as Mayor Holmes was asking, like, 600 for 500 or, yeah. So I'll commit to 1,000, one share.
Nice.
As long as Councillor Van Elpen commits as well. I don't know how many eggs that is, but
Yeah,
together we'll do it.
perfect.
Our CAO was first, you're second. I'll take that challenge.
Awesome. Jay, you're on my list. Thank you.
Councillor Peak.
Thank you. Terry, I wanted to ask, how long does the process take to get your licensing and whatever?
The process, we will want to be up and running for next season. So this is a very short timeline because what we would have to do when we get the membership set up, so the 300 members or whatever it is, if we get 400, that's perfect. That's even better. That group will then elect an executive as part of the society. And then that executive would then have to pick coaches and get the coaches underway. And then the first training camps, in order to even compete in the league on a actual hockey level, we would need to get training camps up and going by April of next year. And I understand from Lori that our ice is in until the end of April next year, so we could get some training camps going in April, and then get some more training. The main camp, I guess, would have to be the end of August, beginning of September, to have the league start in October. So, yeah, it's going to be a fast process. Having said that, I have already talked to, and I've got some meetings set up with 2 of our former coaches who are very interested in being a part of it. Now, whether or not they want to be the coaches, I'll have to try and convince them of that because they're 2 very good coaches. But I'm working with them to try and get that up and running as well. So it's going to be a fast process to get this going. Yeah. Now, another part of that though is that the KIJHL has agreed to, we don't have to have the $225,000 by the first year. We can spread that out on a payment plan, and we have to propose that plan to them. So they've been very agreeable and very helpful in getting this going. So.
Okay, Councillor Peak.
I was going to say 20 gym memberships is very substantial investment from this council for one type of play. And I mention that because we're going to be going into our grant and aid. And we have all kinds of groups that come to us for money that this whole package would then encapsulate that money. It wouldn't be coming to us as a grant and aid, which is what most organizations have to do. So it's just an acknowledgement that it's something different.
Right. And we don't necessarily need free memberships. Like if we can raise money or have the kids chip in for memberships, we just want to make sure that we have a mechanism in place to get them into the facilities, I guess. So yeah, it's a pay-per play. So they're going to pay.
Okay, don't see any further questions, so thanks, Terry. And we're going to be discussing this right away. So,
thank you.
yeah, thanks. So moving on to 18.1, the junior team hockey proposal, and I guess that's for our Director of Community Services.
Good evening, Council. As a follow-up to the delegation presentation from Mr. Rolston this evening, this report is to provide additional information to Council regarding the proposed new community-based Junior B hockey team in Summerland.
Sorry, Lord. No, just.
You don't want him to run away? They are requesting that the district and council provide formal endorsement to proceed with the league applications and community recruitment efforts. They are also requesting a commitment for ice times at the Summerland Arena beginning April 2026 for off-season recruitment and training camps, pre-season and playoff games, and weekly practice time similar to Summerland Steam's ice allocation. Since the Steam left Summerland in 2024, the available ice was quickly picked up by regular user groups as well as some new hockey training rental groups. The impacts of returning the ice back to the junior hockey team will result in a reallocation or potentially a reduction of ice time for school groups and Unisys hockey program for weekday morning practices, impacts on minor hockey and adult hockey games for junior hockey games, and impacts for spring and summer hockey camps for junior hockey recruitment and training camps. The proposal also requests that the new junior hockey team has access to the former Summerland Steam trailer for a permanent dressing room. Currently, 13 District of Summerland park staff are utilizing the trailer as staff space and a home base for cleaning up, breaks, meetings, and office administration. Staff are investigating obtaining another trailer to set up at the back of the arena near the park's compound should the hockey trailer be no longer available. The financial implications for a new trailer will be discussed during budget deliberations. Should council provide endorsement for a new community-based junior hockey team as an expansion team with the KIJHL, staff will work with the Summerland Junior Hockey Committee to implement next steps in getting them set up at the Summerland Arena. Staff will return to council at a future meeting to discuss the junior hockey ice rates, as well as their request for subsidized access for players to the fitness center at the Summerland Aquatic and Fitness Center. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Questions? Councillor Van Elfen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to our Director of Parks and Rec. That deliberation during budget, that was on our budget already for a second trailer, if I'm not mistaken.
Through to Councillor Van Elfen, through the Mayor. It is currently in the budget draft plan right now. It hasn't gone to council previously, I don't believe, but it is in there. Yeah.
Councillor Beth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Lori. So in terms of when I'm thinking about ice time and ice allocations, obviously we've had some other user groups jump in and use some of that. Is there, obviously the more ice time that is being used, the better. And I'm wondering, do you feel like other user groups will be able to be accommodated? Like, can we bring everybody? Are there enough hours on the ice right now? Even if we moved things around, are there enough hours on the ice to put everybody on the ice? Or will ultimately decisions have to be made about user group priorities?
Through the Mayor to Councillor Betts. As mentioned in the report, a lot of the ice time that became available when the Steam left has been taken up by other user groups. What we didn't have previously, Unisys has a hockey program, so that's kind of new allocation that's been given out. And there is a huge demand for ice time all across the region, I think all across the province. So to say there won't be an impact, I don't think I can say that, but I think we can accommodate it. It's just everybody is going to have to play nice in the sandbox, and there'll need to be some compromises. And the biggest impact, I think, will be potentially some of the daytime ice. So it could impact some school youth. So when the schools come, but they're sporadic. So we can try to be flexible with the school groups to work around it. It sounds like the proposed new team is working with minor hockey, so that's a good thing. So they'll see the benefit of that. But essentially, most of that weekend, all of that weekend and evening ice has been taken up by either adult groups or minor hockey. So there will be some compromise, but I think we can make it work.
Thank you. Just as a follow-up, just because of knowing that in the arena, typically arena ice time is booked through minor hockey, and they book off large blocks at the beginning of the season, not necessarily knowing their ice usage times moving forward. And there are often empty times on the ice on the weekend in prime times. Is there any way to kind of maximize that, even like once minor hockey has a better idea of tournaments, away games, and things like that, about making more ice time available to other users? I just know because there's ice time that just sits open sometimes in the middle of a day, and you're kind of surprised on a Saturday. So just wondering about that.
Through the mayor to Councillor Bat. So the standard practice would be for all the groups to put in their ice requests. And we look at the schedule and we try to work around to fit everybody in the best we can. And so there's some give and take. Yes, minor hockey has historical allocations that they've booked. And sometimes their schedules change and they give back that ice. And so we're trying to get as much lead time as possible from minor hockey so that we can fill that with other groups. Sometimes we don't get a lot of notice and it sits empty. So we're working with minor hockey to try to really streamline the bookings that they have, but it's difficult because sometimes they don't have the schedule and sometimes they're working with other teams through the Okanagan for games, and I know they're trying their best. So we'll continue to work with them to try to optimize every hour of ice.
Thank you. I'm passionate about ice time. So just another question then. I mean, ultimately, we're in recreation, but it is also a business. It contributes income to the district of Summerland. And so this would see essentially more hours of ice rented. Is that correct? Or are we going to have the same number of hours kind of spread out? Because obviously we'd have to make guarantees to this group to make the commitment so that KIJHL will actually commit to having a team here. So they would require commitments. So does that mean, do we have enough hours that we'll be able, or are some people going to ultimately get less?
Through the mayor to Councillor Betts, it's a tough question until we actually do the allocation and see if we can, if somebody is booked typically on a weekend and there's going to be a game, if they can go after the game. So, if they have some flexibility around that. So the adult teams might have to go later into the evening. So I think ultimately we'll probably have more ice booked with this team or with this new team. And potentially we might have a reduction in some things like schools that don't pay. So we might have a financial, because the ice will be potentially covered by fees by junior hockey, which we're going to come to the next meeting to talk about fees. But we should see an increase in revenue and an increase in ice time.
Thanks so much.
What are the hours of the ice in use now? From when does it start in the morning and until what time at night?
So weekday mornings, we have early morning ice time. So I think Mike gets to the ice around 5:45 and they're on the ice around 6:15 or 6:30 in the morning. And we have we close down the arena with the adult hockey groups that go anywhere from 10:30 to 11:30 at the end of the night. And that's pretty similar for the weekends as well.
You might be able to push that half an hour on each side. I can say that because my kid's not. Anyone else? Councillor Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll put the staff recommendation on the table.
Yeah, thank you. We get that up on the screen. And do I have a seconder? Councillor Betts. Any further discussion? Councillor Betts.
I really do think it's a great opportunity to bring minor hockey at a higher level back to Summerland. There's a lot of excitement about it, and it was a loss, and I think the idea of having a community-based team just sounds just like a different kind of model, but even better.
Yeah, thanks. In my family, we had a billet with the Sting, the Summerland Sting, the goalie. And that was great. It was a great experience. It was great having them here. And it was sad to see them go. And it was great having the Steam here. And it was sad to see them go. So hopefully this is the right model. Because as Terry said, I think this community-based one, that's what will work for Summerland. So Councillor Van Alphen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'm really excited about this, to be honest with you. I was involved with the Steam for a while, years ago, and we were fortunate enough to have, I think, about a half a dozen billets through our home. And it was a fun experience, to be honest with you. And I still am in touch with a lot of the billets. And I think I got a wedding to go to next summer with one of the billets. And it's a neat experience. It's, I'm excited about this. I wouldn't even want to be involved if it was privately owned. But being a community-based team, and when I was involved, going to Sycamoose, going to Chase, going to Princeton, and seeing the enthusiasm in the building, because it's a community-based team. Everybody feels like they have an ownership, and it was exciting. And it's a lot of fun to play in those arenas. So I'm excited. I hope this goes in the right direction. And I think it's something that the community can really get behind. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks. Councillor Peak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm really excited about the opportunity. I don't play hockey. I never played hockey, but the fact is the communities really find it wonderfully fun to participate both as players and the younger crowd that come through and the people that sit there and watch. I'm always amazed at how many people I talk to that they just love going to the games. It's a great pastime, and the enthusiasm and the fun that's generated is great. So I hope this all works out for you and for us.
Thank you. Councillor Chair.
Just a quick question. Who gets to name the team? Sorry, is that okay?
300 members.
300 members?
300 members. That's a great question, and trust me, it's gone through all of our heads. The one, to be honest, that I'm leaning towards right now is the Summerland Jets, because if it's going to be a community-based team, we should probably follow what the community is doing. And the Summerland minor hockey teams are called the Summerland Jets, so we would be the Summerland Jets junior version of that. So that's what I'm leaning towards, but it's not my decision. So I would push it that way, though. So, I like it. Okay, so motion's on the floor. I'll call the question. All in favor? And none opposed. That carries. Okay, thank you, everyone. Moving on to our we have one development variance permit we need to deal with, 18.2, and I'll ask our planning manager.
Hey, good evening, Mayor and Council. Today I'm presenting the development variance permit for Unit 27 at 6709 Victoria Road South here in Summerland. So the property is located just at the base of Little Giants, and it's in a strata called Sedona Heights. It's an undeveloped lot at the moment, and it is currently zoned RU3 and designated as low-density residential. The applicant is proposing to develop a single detached dwelling once all appropriate permits are approved by the district. So the first variance that's being requested as part of this application is to increase the height from grade from 2.0 meters to 3.81 meters for the retaining wall, sorry. The initial application that came into staff was for a retaining wall of 6.86, but upon further investigation of the site, the applicant requested to reduce it to 3.81. And so that is what they are currently requesting for variance. The second one is for the setback of the retaining wall. They are looking to reduce the setback from 1.5 meters to 0 to keep the retaining wall within the property. And so it would be proposed to be just right on the property line at the bottom of that property there to the south. So the variances in question for the retaining wall height, the current zoning bylaw requires it to be 2.0 meters as per section 5.5.4. With the final height at grade at 3.81, a variance is therefore required. After 1.2 meters of a retaining wall height, a building permit is required. So if this development variance is approved through council, a building permit will be required following to build the retaining wall. For the setback, typically there are no setback requirements for retaining walls. They are considered exempt in our section 4.2. However, if the retaining wall height does not meet the current bylaw requirements, being 2 meters in height, it is not able to be within that setback, projected setback, because the proposed variance is for a 3.81 meter tall retaining wall. The variance must be provided for to bring it into the setback of the property line. So the site in question, as mentioned before, is currently undeveloped, and they are looking to develop the site. In order to do that, though, they have to build and have a larger buildable footprint for the proposed dwelling. So the retaining wall is intended to help support that by putting that in on the south property line there. They're able to build in an infill and bring that site up to the same elevation as those around them, but also ensure that an adequate building footprint is available. Unfortunately, the steep terrain and topography currently on that parcel is quite limiting and reduces the ability for them to build and meet setback requirements for a structure if it wasn't infilled using a retaining wall. So as part of the referrals for this, so typically this was a DVP type 2, and so it went out for circulation to our external agencies, internal staff, as well as adjacent landowners. So for referral requests, our building department just required that an engineer design and monitor the building of the retaining wall if approved, and then no comments were received or concerns from external agencies that were circulated. Because it was a DVP type 2, the adjacent landowner circulation was conducted and was circulated to properties within 60 meters of the property's location. We did receive 2 letters of objection, and so this is now brought it to council for decision. As part of that, because we had to bring it to council, we also had to notify adjacent landowners again to let them know that a council meeting was happening. So that was also completed on September 18th, and no additional letters were received following that circulation letter. Oops, there we go. So staff are in support of the application for the following reasons. Based off the existing nature of the property, the steep terrain, and current issues with being able to build on the site without infill and without bringing the site up to current elevation, the retaining wall does seem to be necessary and would allow for buildability on that property. So this is considered reasonable by staff with regards to the retaining wall height variance. Because the retaining wall is necessary to support infill on the property, the applicant has also noted that it could also help reduce some rock slough and falls that are noted. While that's not the intent of the retaining wall, it is seen as a trade-off for any possible visible impacts to adjacent properties, as that south property line where the retaining wall is proposed is right up adjacent to another property that has a development on that site. However, because the height has already been reduced from 6 meters to 3.8, the reduced height and the trade-offs, staff believe this is a reasonable request as well. Oops. Lastly, the retaining wall has been reviewed by an engineer and a report was filed as part of the application. And during construction, pending approval, it will be required to be monitored on site for the retaining wall when it is built, as per comments from building. And will also be required to have a final inspection to ensure it meets all building code requirements and zoning bylaw requirements for meeting the setbacks. Staff have therefore no concerns with the proposed design of the retaining wall. That being said, staff is recommending that council approve the issuance of DVP 25-009 to permit an increase in the retaining wall height from 2 meters to 3.8 and reduce an interior side yard setback from 1.5 meters to 0. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Council questions? Councillor Peak.
Thank you kindly, Mr. Mayor. One of the letters were from Workington and they were concerned about the height. But as you say, it's been reduced. They were talking about a 6.86 meter and it's now 3.86 or something. So their concern would then have been addressed. The other people were concerned that there have been walls built that actually came at the edge of their property. Will this applicant then have to have a survey so that that kind of problem doesn't arise?
Through the chair to Councillor Peak. So yes, in order for them to build anything on that property, they'll have to make sure that all structures that are built are within the surveyed property lines. The submitted drawing that they did submit for this application does show that, and it does show that they're planning to maintain that retaining wall on the property line. As part of the building permit that will be done for both the retaining wall and the structure itself of the house, if approved, our building officials will be making sure that they are complying with it. Their site plan is as well in line with the DBP here. So there are checks and balances in place for that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Councillor Patton.
Thank you, Worship. Can you, in that letter again from the second person, it talks about some encroachments of some wall on their property and on their neighbor's property. Did our building department look into this as a complaint, or do we know if there really is an encroachment of those walls on this property?
Through the chair to Councillor Patton. So no, we haven't advised the building officials to look into that. I haven't read the letters. I haven't seen specifically, and I don't know if it's this particular property or a different property they're referring to, unfortunately, but we haven't asked them to go any further.
Councillor Bett.
Thank you. So one of the things that I was looking at with the retaining wall is kind of who will it impact the most in terms of the neighbors? Because I think that's a really important question to ask. And to me, it seems like it would be the downslope neighbor. But when I look on Google Maps, the downslope where the retaining wall would be appears to be the garage side of that property, and not obstructing specific views. Now, I hope I'm not incorrect on that, but just on Google Earth, when I'm looking on top, it doesn't look like it would impact directly, or like their primary view wouldn't now be a giant retaining wall, that's on the opposite side of the property. So for that reason, I can see this proposal.
Councillor Jenner.
Yeah, this is a difficult spot to build without retaining walls. So I think when people go to buy homes there or build there, they kind of know that. We've had to put in we've approved retaining walls in that area before. Is that correct? Yeah, we've approved several before. So I'll bring this forward as presented by staff if no one else has any objections.
Okay, could we get a seconder for that? Councillor Patton, we just get that up on the screen, please. Councillor Barkwell?
I may have missed this because I was looking something up, but is there going to be any texture or anything to this wall to make it a little bit more attractive than just basically a cement wall?
Through the chair to Councillor Barkwell, no, we don't currently have any design requirements for just an individual property. Typically, you only see that through a multifamily development permit.
Yeah, is it possible to make that requirement?
Through the chair to Councillor Barkwell, you can, if you want to add as a condition to put some sort of textured blocks instead, you are welcome to include that as a condition on the permit.
You're the applicant. If you just maybe state your name and for the record, and if council's agreeable, we can hear from you.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Brad Nielsen. So I can actually answer both your questions. The lot that we are adjoining is lot 1 to the south side. And that neighbor has actually allowed us to work on their property, so they don't have any problem with it. And they did ask us if we would use a textured block for that so that it wasn't a smooth face wall, and we agreed to do that.
So they're not one of the 2 letters that we received?
No, and the one that was asking about the encroachment issues actually has nothing to do with our property. He was complaining about a different property and some of the original development.
Yeah. I remember there was some issues with that original development. Yeah. Okay, anyone else? Then CAO, you have something to say?
Yeah, just that, I mean, on this idea of the textured block, your worship. So just happens to be on my mind. I had a recent concern relayed from a different resident where an approval of council was given for a retaining wall. Conversations were had, I think, between residents, there'd be textured blocks. In the end, they weren't used. There's no non-compliance there because it never appeared as part of the conditions. So if council is really passionate about textured blocks, it'd probably be good to have that direction. Otherwise, I guess we're just trusting the conversations.
Do you guys?
I'm happy to trust this applicant.
We can trust you? Yeah. Okay.
Don't make me look bad.
Okay, I'll call the question then. All in favor? And none opposed, that carries. Okay, thank you. Now we have some notices of motion. So first one, Councillor Van Elfen regarding the Henry Avenue Public Plaza.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last council meeting, I brought forward this notice of motion, and I just thought that it'd be a nice touch to rename the new Henry Square to the Veterans Memorial Square, and I'm hoping I can get traction from the rest of my council members.
Okay, thank you. So bringing that forward, do I have a seconder? Councillor Patton, any discussion? I talked to well, one of the businesses. So if it affects the two businesses are actually on that, what will be on the square, and they weren't really concerned with, say, post their mailing address, for example, because they get their mail from the post office. So it's a post office box. So, but I'm pretty sure that even if somebody sent it to Henry Ave, you still get there. So I think this is personally, I think it's a great idea, and it'll be nice. Councillor Chen.
Can we designate something like a square name? Like, it doesn't change the address though, right? Or it doesn't change the name of the street. It's just the square gets a name.
Well, it won't be a street anymore.
Not a street anymore.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Okay, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Long day. I support it.
Councillor Betts.
Well, thank you. I mean, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think though that Councillor Turner makes a good point. Like, you go to public squares in Europe and they're in the middle of streets, and or they're without streets and they're just a square without having a specific street address. So does it have to, is it renaming of a street, or are we just naming the plaza? Just for technicality's sake, that I know. Because if it's just naming the plaza, that's completely fine to me. Veterans Memorial Square, great. But does that need to change the actual post office address? It's just a.
Well, these businesses, the business that I talk to, they don't have street in their address. It's just the post office box.
Sure, but if they ever have people who go to their business, they're going to be looking it up on a wayfinding mechanism. So I just want to be aware of the different implications, right? Can we just name a square without it changing the street address?
Well, we're in charge of names. CAO, how does the corporate officer, how does that work with like Google Maps and how do we let everybody know? Or they just figure it out eventually?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. We do have contact with Google Maps on lots of different things. There's sometimes errors on their end, sometimes changes on our end. So we would certainly contact them and make sure they're aware of the process. I think there's also, and I'm outside of my depth here a bit, a government agency we have to inform regarding a naming change. And I think they also have their own relationship with Google, but we would hit both to ensure that the change is made.
So I presume it's the same process as when we create a new street.
Yeah.
Because we have had new streets, Lighthouse Landing, for example. Yeah, I know what you're saying, but it's this is kind of the same answer. It's not a street anymore. So I presume Henry Ave will end on Main Street. and then you have the square. Right? Because there's, that won't be Henry Ave anymore. That's the way I interpret it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then because it's not, the street doesn't continue, that's where Henry Ave's.
Yeah.
Yep, right.
Okay, so then will it require new just street markers on the street posts? Like, I don't know if the intention is to have like a rock with a bronze plaque that says Veterans Memorial Plaza. Like, I'm sorry to be annoying, but like, let's hash it out.
You're not annoying at all. To report back on options for signage of the plaza. So
We're not deciding that today. It'll come back to us.
Okay,
All right?
thanks.
Anyone else? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? None opposed, that carries. Notice a motion regarding the Summerland Pier signage. Councillor Peak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I put a notice of motion, and the motion would, a resolution for consideration would be that Summerland Pier letters be placed on the top crossbeam of the archway on the pier located at Rotary Beach and color match the Summerland Rotary Clubs and District of Summerland plaques. It goes on to describe the background, but I'm sure since we all sat here through the discussion, I don't have to do that. But I would like to see the Summerland Pier added to the archway of our new pier project.
Okay, thank you. So you're putting that motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Jenner seconding. Okay, discussion, questions, Councillor Barkle.
So at the time, we had a big discussion about this already. And I guess the decision was not to, but I don't remember what the issues were, why we decided. Was it just a financial limitation or what? Because I don't remember that discussion. That's several years ago.
Well, yeah, and I think we had mock-ups at the time. It'd be nice to see a mock-up. Councillor Jenner?
Yeah, what I recall, and again, this is just my memory, so I could be wrong. But I think that the majority of council felt that it just wasn't needed. And I think I can't remember the cost, but people didn't feel it was needed. At the time, I believe I did think it was needed, and I still do, which is why I seconded it. When I look at the pier now, I feel like the arch looks naked, and it needs, it just needs something. It's such a beautiful structure, and I feel like having Summerland Pier would just complete it. So, yeah, I think it's worth it.
We agreed to have two things, one in each corner, right? One for Rotary, one for the. Those aren't up yet, are they? No. So we don't know what it's going to look like until those are up. Or are we saying we don't want those now? We just want Summerland Pier. I'm confused. Councillor B.
I don't know why you should be confused. We did say we want both the Rotary and the District of Summerland logos on either corner. I think that the investment from the community, however we came through this, both through the fundraising, through the Rotary, and our own work to put the money that was given to us by the provincial government to recreate the pier, allows us the opportunity to celebrate it. So I think that the name Summerland Pier should appear on it. And they're going to be as bad as Doug. I just think it's an opportunity to celebrate Summerland itself. And I think when people say we're going down to the Summerland Pier, it'll become a meeting place. It'll have a title, and will acknowledge that the community was interested in doing this.
Councillor Jenner, then Barkle.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll give it a nice professional touch. And I think before, when we had seen the mock-ups, there was like a brass or gold or something. And then also there was a solid black. And if we do decide on this, maybe we could have a look at that again. But I think either one would be really nice. And just finish, sorry?
I did send it.
Oh, did you? Okay. I think it just gives it a finished look.
Councillor Barkle?
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of a Summerland Pier sign, but I think it's back to, I think what we thought before, I like it only to a certain amount, only to a certain dollar amount that would I be willing to spend. So could we change it to direct staff to provide options and costs for a Summerland Pier sign? Because my willing to spend, the amount I'm willing to spend on it is not unlimited.
Councillor Betts?
Thank you. Lori, do we have any of that room left in that budget, or has every dollar been spent?
Through the mayor to Councillor Betts, we allocated $100,000, or council allocated $100,000 out of the building fund. And there is room in that. And I believe, so this is an example of bronze, but we also looked at black satin and black acrylic, which are about half the price.
So this is bronze? It's going to be bronze. Bronze color. Okay, Councillor Betts?
If you ladies think it's very important, I will have your back on this one. I would rather go with a color that, if it's going to be there to stand out a little bit more, I think the black would be hard to see.
I'd kind of like to know what these logos are going to look like. And what I'd like to see a mock-up of Summerland Pier with the two logos. Do we have that? I just think it could end up looking like Disneyland and See, this doesn't look bad, but then I think the logos could make it all cluttered, and vice versa. I think you end up with this cluttered look, and but maybe I'm overthinking.
So that was a bronze color. There's black. So the actual plaques that are going up are, if you can imagine, so they don't, like, that shows the shape and kind of to scale, but it's a black background and a bronze color of the letters, not brown, that shows there. So we had a black satin or a black acrylic and bronze colored that we got quotes on, but I'm sure you can get any color you want.
Well, I mean, looking at this, I'd say I'll take the Summerland Pier and get rid of the two logos, because I think they clash. You got one rectangle and one circle. They're traitor.
So one thing that I had suggested before was putting the District of Summerland and the Rotary either on one side or on a post on one side, or either on a post or a pole, so that they don't clutter the frame. I'm okay with this, but if you're concerned about.
It does look cluttered.
CEO, an idea here? Solution?
Well, an idea, but probably one I'll regret raising. So people visit the pier, they walk down the pier, they look around, they come back down the pier. You could have these logo things when you're leaving at the pier on the back side of the arch rather than on the front of the arch, but just throwing it out there.
Councillor Barkle?
Yeah, Lori, you said this mock up the District of Summerland and the Kiwanis things are not to scale. Are they a little bit larger or bigger than they appear here? And yeah,
I tried my best to do it to scale, but it's just, I did it myself, so I don't want you to hold me accountable to that. I just wanted to give a sense of what they look like, but
pretty close.
I can get you the dimensions. I think they are 16 inches high.
So
we have them in stock, so they've arrived. They're at Connie Dennis's house.
I guess I kind of agree with his worship that the rectangle and the circle kind of clash. I've probably talked about this before. But if you just went with the circle, it looks kind of, where would you put that? Because then the left side's empty. Or you could put it behind the, say, Summerland Pier. But I don't know. What would any suggestions?
Okay. What? Yeah, I was gonna say we cross one bridge at a time here, but Councillor Van Elfen.
I would suggest putting it up top with Summerland Pier. Far left would be the District of Summerland. Far right is the circle.
So all on the same beam.
All on the same beam.
Yeah.
I think it would blend better together and it wouldn't look so out of place.
Yeah, I think they might be right.
But I'm hoping the dimensions aren't larger than the beam.
Yeah, that would be good.
Or we'd have to cut them all
Yeah.
down.
Well, I'll go with what Marty says.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm gonna be. Measure. I think we measure before we.
Measure before we cut.
I don't think that beam's 16 inches.
No. I think it could work.
Smaller symbols.
Okay, well, so the motion's on the floor. All in favor? Any opposed? It carries. Sorry?
Draft. Draft.
Yellow.
Okay, moving on, notices of motion. Anyone else have a notice of motion? Councillor Peak.
Thank you very kindly. I did send emails around, so the Summerland Arts Council has come into a great deal of difficulty to be able to continue to cover their one salary for their one staff person. They've done a lot of budget tightening, and so they've done a number of things to shrink what they're going to use, but they still need some monies because they will be out of funds to pay wages at the end of October. And they did suggest two opportunities, that the 2026 annual operating support funding of $8,500, which is core funding that we've allocated to the Summerland Community Arts Council, receive early budget approval and be released as soon as possible. And further, that the payment of the District of Summerland's portion of the September to December 2025 shared rental revenue, which we all get rentals, if I'm correct, Lori, and then those rentals are, the revenue is shared. That the rental revenue of the George Riga Arts and Cultural Center be deferred for payment from January 31st to March 31st. They feel that if these things were possible and the revenues from their light up sales, which also gives them a good background, will carry them forward till the BC Art Council funds, which have already been approved, would come forward. So it's a one-time ask, or they hope that that will be the case. And the president of the Arts Council stepped down just the week before this. I guess there wasn't quite as much communication. She was overseeing the treasury person. It was sort of, that person wasn't trained as a treasurer and she was acting as the two. I don't know that maybe the information was getting through as clearly to the board itself, so that it was a bit of a surprise that they weren't going to have enough funds. They had a part-time person plus volunteers to keep it open on the weekends, but they had let that person go, and they will look for volunteers to make that
Okay.
opportunity going
Sorry,
forward.
sir, could I just stop you for a second here?
Yeah.
First of all, we need a motion to be able to deal with this today.
Okay.
That's what you're asking, right?
Yes, there will. If I may, Mr. Mayor, it would depend on the intent of the council. If they could see their way forward to do this at this meeting, or if you want, then it could go to staff to be directed to liaise with the Summerland Community Arts Council on interim emergent operational funding solutions and report back to council.
Okay, sorry. So first, let's just get what the motion is. The motion that you emailed to us was requesting staff to work with the Arts Council to see what interim solution could be found and report back to council for the next council meeting. Is that the motion you wish for us to discuss at corporate office?
If I'm,
Yeah.
Through the mayor, can we do a motion first that would waive the notice period?
We need to know what the motion is to know whether to waive it, right? How would people know whether to waive if they don't know what the motion is that they're writing?
We could write it one of two ways. So we could have a motion that just says that the notice period, or that the notice period for the notice of motion regarding consideration of the interim operational funding to the Summerland Arts Community Council brought forward by Councillor Peak be waived, and we can consider just the fact that council wants to consider a motion, and then Councillor Peak could bring forward a second motion on what the actual motion would be, so that you're considering them separate rather than maybe getting caught up in them.
No, I think we're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
So we need a motion to waive the notice to talking about today. So you would like to bring that forward, Councillor Peak?
yes, and we had very little chance to discuss this,
That's
so
okay.
thank you.
A second, Councillor Betts. So I'll just call the question on, we're waiving it so we can discuss it tonight. All in favor? And none opposed, that carries. And now the motion. Why don't you just bring the motion forward and then we discuss it, so.
I'll bring the motion forward, and Kendra, can you put it up on the screen? Well, it counts to both of them, does it not? Been a long day.
Through the mayor, council, we'd be the number 2.
Yeah, so we've just passed number 1, so this number 2. Does that work?
That would capture the essence of what was being asked.
Okay.
They suggested a couple of ways, but it gives the opportunity for that discussion.
Okay, so do I have a seconder? Councillor Betts. Okay, so now go ahead, Councillor.
I would like to see the opportunity for the Community Arts Council to be able to cover this short period of time to give them the opportunity to move forward in the new year. And we have been very supportive of them in the past. I would hope the council would find this as an opportunity to do that.
Councillor Turner?
Councillor Peak, do you happen to know why they're in this situation? Like, they would have done a budget. Did they not get a grant? Did they not fill out programs? Is there a reason that they've come up short?
Both of those things were true. There were 3 grants that they wrote through, and they did not get any of the funds on those. Their enrollment for their summer programming, some of them were not taken up that they had hoped would. So those kind of revenues didn't come in the aspect that they normally have. So they're going to re-examine how that program is instigated and perhaps not offer it for as long amount of time, but to be more targeted in those programs for day camps during the period or on the the student days that are off. I can't think of the word.
Cody Day.
Thank you.
Okay.
Councillor Manoffin?
Thank you. Please, because I don't know, and I'm just going to ask, is it absolutely necessary that they have a full-time person on payroll?
You can't do everything with volunteers when you're running a full year's program and an art gallery.
Councillor Patton?
Thank you, your worship. But to be a devil's advocate, could that position not be a part-time position? While they get through whatever financial obstacles they're going through, because then the wages that she's paid, then part of that wage could go towards any backlog or reduction of the wage. Maybe they would make it through.
Well, I think I would prefer to have that discussion with staff and the Arts Council. There may be several ways through it. It wouldn't be just the ones that they have spoken to. Those are options, and I think there may be other ones as well. Along with this, they did look at the opportunity of perhaps just closing during January, which is a very slow time, and then go back to their usual operations.
Just a question for Lori. Have they been in touch with you about these issues? Or this? Oh, yes.
No, I've just heard about it today.
Councillor Betts?
I'm in support of this because it sounds like they're kind of hitting a critical time and need a little bit of a window to kind of get organized, get reorganized. They've lost a really important person to the organization, and it sounds like the organization might have to do some soul searching about the future anyway, and that's going to take some time. We know our Arts Council is a really important part of our community, and we don't want to see that lost. There's so many artists in this community, and we support a lot of different organizations, so we don't want to miss out on this.
Yeah, I certainly encourage our staff to when you talk to them, talk about that. When there's issues, come and talk to us. Don't wait until it's a crisis. If there's problems, then you should be coming to talk to us before it gets to this point. But I can support this otherwise. Councillor Turner?
Yeah, I'll support this too. I guess I just have a couple more questions. Do they have like monthly meetings where they bring forward their budget or their updated? Because I remember when I worked at the farmer's market, we always, every month we looked at our budget. So I'm wondering about that.
Yes, there were monthly meetings and there were presentations. I think there was a gap in how it was being operated because the president was actually probably doing the treasury work for the person that was in training. And I don't think that things were presented in the same way. Now, when you go as a liaison person, you're only seeing part of their meeting because there are closed sessions. So there may have been things going on that I wasn't aware of. I was just made aware of this yesterday, so.
Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? And none opposed? That carries. Any other notices of motion? Any councillor reports? Councillor Van Alphen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just through to our CAO, if you would be so kind as to pass this on to your wonderful staff. The landfill is a absolute joy to attend with the new asphalt millings on the road. The staff in the weigh scale are ecstatic because the dust has been mitigated, and it's actually really nice to drive up there. Thank you.
Councillor Peak.
Thank you. I want to acknowledge and thank the public for supporting the kind of work that we have to do in the background, and the opportunity to go to UBCM is one of those things. I think it was a very valuable session that we had this time, and I appreciated the opportunity to attend. I also attended this past weekend a celebration at Haywire of 15 years that Christine and Steve have built their business. And there was a lovely little gathering, and I'd never seen the saber cut the wine bottle. It was quite fascinating. And I got to drink some of that. So there was no glass in it. And it was just a very heartwarming celebration.
I heard it's quite a big, quite a big gathering, actually. Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah, Councillor Betts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I won't speak to UBCM other than to thank staff for all their work going and supporting us, and for our residents to allow us to go. It is useful, and I just really appreciate all the help while we're there from our staff, so thank you so much. Second shout out will be as the Summerland Rotary Market still has a couple more weeks to go. We're finishing up for the season as we transition to our other business model. And I would like to publicly thank Miss Linda Van Alphen for just a tremendous amount of work that she's done over the last couple of years. I didn't get to say thank you at the end of the market the other day, but just an asset to our community who organizes just wonderful things. And the Sunday market just could not have been nicer this past weekend. The music was wonderful, and it was so many people were out. It's just such a great place to be. I'm happy to be a part of it.
Yeah. Anyone else? Then I just need a motion to adjourn. Councillor Betts and Van Elfen, all in favor? That carries.